covering climate, weather, and the industrial enterprise from Penn State Meteorology. Here is Up in the Air.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Up in the Air. I'm Mike Susko.
And I'm Ryan Gold.
Well, Ryan, we certainly have a jam-packed show this week with all the fall foliage knowledge you could want and more. We even have a package by our own Logan Westrope on how late it's been occurring in the recent times.
Oh yes, I'm very excited to hear about the fall foliage. We also have stories on ocean acidification as well as meteorites.
All that and more, but first, here's Update in the Air.
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a doorstop. A man in Grand Rapids, Michigan has been using a rock as a doorstop for 30 years, but this is no ordinary rock. It is actually a piece of a meteorite. A few months ago, this man reached out to Mona Sorbescu, a geologist at Central Michigan University, to ask her to examine a large rock he's had on his farm. She agreed to check out the rock, and when the man arrived, he revealed the largest potential meteorite she had ever been asked to examine. After closer inspection, she determined that it was a 20-pound meteorite, the sixth largest found in the state according to the International Society for Meteorites and Planetary Science. What's more, it was potentially worth $100,000. The owner of the meteorite said he obtained it when he bought a farm in Edmore, Michigan in 1988. He spotted the rock when he went on a farm survey and saw it propping the shed door open. The farmer owner told him that it was a meteorite he and his father saw crash down on their property in the 1930s. Many museums are interested in purchasing the meteorite, including the Smithsonian, as well as a mineral museum in Maine. Whatever sum the owner receives for the meteorite, he's pledged to give 10% of the sale value back to the university to be used for funding students in earth and atmospheric sciences.
A new model created by the scientists at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, WHOI, predicts that scallop harvesting fisheries may be in danger. Each year, over $500 million worth of Atlantic scallops are harvested from the waters off the United States eastern coast. As levels of carbon dioxide increase around the world, the upper levels of the ocean will absorb more quantities of the greenhouse gas. As the ocean absorbs more of this gas, pH levels will drop and become more acidic. Seawater is normally around a pH of 8.2, but projections suggest it could decrease to 7.8 by 2100. While this may not seem like a big deal, many marine organisms are extremely sensitive to pH changes, and decreases of that magnitude may be enough to wipe them out. However, strong fishery management and efforts to decrease the carbon dioxide emissions could slow or even stop the trend. A scenario with a proactive climate policy shows only a 13% reduction in the population. Jenny Rubin, the lead author of the study using the model, states, "What's novel about their work is that it brings together the models of the changing ocean environments as well as human responses. It combines socioeconomic decision-making, ocean chemistry, atmospheric carbon dioxide, economic development, and fishery management, with the goal of it being to see how environmental changes might play out across different aspects of the sea scallop fishery industry."
We all know the story of the sword and the stone, but what about the sword in the lake? During the summer in Sweden's Lake Vidastern, 8-year-old Saga Vaniek discovered an ancient sword while skipping rocks. She said, quote, "I picked it up and was going to drop it back in the water, but it had a handle, and I saw that it was a little bit pointy at the end and all rusty. I held it up in the air and said, 'Daddy, I found a sword,'" end quote. After inspection of the sword in a museum, it is believed to be about 1,500 years old, placing it in the 4th or 5th century, well before the Viking Age. The family had to keep the sword a secret for 2 months until the museum announced the find earlier last week. The museum, county officials, and members of the Swedish Metal Searchers Association are searching the lake for more artifacts. So far, a piece of metal jewelry from the 4th or 5th century has been found.
As the ocean warms and the humans continue to move towards coastal areas in growing numbers, scientists are becoming increasingly concerned about the decline in ocean seagrass. A case study in Guam shows that the seagrass meadows on the island have decreased by 22%. This loss is significant because seagrasses provide an important ecosystem benefits, such as shoreline protection and support for food species. For perspective, imagine if one of the walls in your home simply disappeared and you no longer have protection from the elements. Using a combination of satellite imagery analysis and on-the-ground measurements, as well as mapping of the coastal terrain, researchers gathered the necessary data to arrive at their conclusion. Globally, seagrass meadows have declined by 30% between 1879 and 2006, but the rate of loss has been accelerating since 1990 due to coastal development, dredging activities, and declining water quality. In Guam, as many as the other island nations, the biggest contaminant is sewage-derived nitrogen because of poor wastewater infrastructure. Guam sewage plants are old, effluent is not treated to the highest standards, and water samples routinely show that sewage amounts are higher than government levels set for safe recreational waters and fresh and marine environments. The impacts on local wildlife is substantial and can be harmful not only because of the ecosystem, but the economy of these island nations and the people who live there.
The first exomoon beyond our solar system has been discovered, a gas giant the size of Neptune. While we know there are plenty of planets that exist beyond our solar system, a moon orbiting one has yet to be confirmed. The potential moon would be much larger than Earth, orbiting a planet as big as Jupiter. The super-space pairing is 8,000 light-years away. Researchers Alex Tecci and David Kipping evaluated over 250 planets outside our solar system, and only one planet held promise for hosting a moon. This planet is around the star Kepler 1625, which is around the same size as our sun, but much older. While there is evidence that this exists, Tecci said, quote, "We are urging caution here. The first exomoon is obviously an extraordinary claim, and it requires extraordinary evidence," end quote. If this is indeed a moon, it would be 2 million miles from its planet and appear twice as big in its sky. Moons are abundant in our solar system, with around 200. Of the 8 planets, only Mercury and Venus have none. Both the planet and its potential moon are gas giants, so no one suggests there could be life on them. However, this step, we are closer to finding some that do.
Welcome back to the show.
We now have a package on how late fall foliage has been occurring by our own Logan Westrope.
With the fall equinox well in the past, and as we turn our calendars into the first week of October, we typically see some changes with our trees not looking as summer-like across the area. Here in central Pennsylvania, we're seated at about 1,100 feet above sea level, and the elevation does play a role in when we see our color starting to change on our trees. But what exactly determines how vibrant this year's color will be across the fall season, and when do we typically see fall foliage across the region? After years and years of study, scientists have concluded many factors into what exactly makes for a colorful and vibrant blanket of colors across the nation. According to the United States Forest Service, they list 3 main factors including leaf pigments, length of night, and weather patterns. And most forest deciduous trees are very common and follow a rather complex pattern during the fall. The leaves will eventually lose the green chlorophyll molecules they have, allowing other colors to come through, such as reds and oranges. In fact, all matter from the leaves is not completely wasted when the leaves change. The trees take in certain materials from the leaves and store them during the winter months, then allowing for the leaves to break down the chlorophyll and eventually fall off.
Leaves move into a phase called senescence, or basically the dying off of the leaves. So the chlorophyll, the green pigment, starts to break down, and that basically unmasks other pigments that are already in the leaf, or the red pigment, anthocyanin, which is actually produced at this time of the year.
This ties in with the amount of daylight available. As nights grow longer with daylight becoming shorter, trees and plants can detect this as their leaves lose the chlorophyll that is present during the growing season. As for weather patterns, many would think that many days of rain would actually help to keep trees healthy and ready for fall, right? Well, that's actually the complete opposite. The Forest Service mentions that continuous days of warm and sunny skies along with cool, crisp nights are prime for spectacular fall colors. For the best fall foliage, a warm, wet spring, favorable summer, and warm, sunny fall days with cool nights helps to produce those fall colors everyone loves to see. Though, with the humid summer and fall so far that the East Coast has dealt with, this can also limit vivid fall leaves.
It's warm and wet. It basically keeps the trees, the leaves, in a green growing condition.
Since water vapor in the air keeps temperatures from having a large range, nights tend to be on the warm side, which is not the most ideal. So for those of you that plan trips across the country to capture some of Mother Nature's scenic beauty, by mid-October, most of the Northeast will be nearing peak season along with areas near the Rocky Mountains. Some states to put at your bucket list would be New York, Vermont, Maine, and Colorado, just to name a few. Now hopefully in the next few weeks we will see some color change from this to this. The prime weeks for fall foliage across the United States occurs between mid-October to early November. So get those cameras ready out and be sure to capture some of nature's beauty of painting of color across the United States. From up in the air, I'm Logan Westrope.
Welcome back to the show. Well, Ryan, the last couple of weeks have been nothing but warm and wet. I don't know about you, I'm ready for the dry and cool weather.
Yes, I want to go to a pumpkin patch, but I've never been able to. It's either been too wet or it's too hot, and no one wants to go pumpkin picking in all that heat.
I hear you on that. Well, let's see if Logan on the climate wall has any good news for us. Logan, is Ryan going to be going to a pumpkin patch this weekend, or is he going to have to wait a little bit longer?
Hey, I hope so. I really want to go as well, and maybe have some more seasonal weather to be outside and actually enjoy it. The first few weeks in October, though, have been above normal for a lot of us across the Northeast. Our average highs for this time of year on October 11th, 62 degrees for average high, low back in the lower 40s. Our average high, though, was set back in 1954 at 85 degrees, and our record low set back at 28 degrees, and that was back in 1906. So we have some variability between those temperatures, and it seems like our temperatures have been closer towards 80 over the past 2 weeks. Temperature outlook, though, we are going to see some changes. As we look towards the north and west, we have above normal temperatures, especially as you make your way up towards Montana, extending all the way out towards the west coast of Washington, Oregon, and California. We're kind of seeing this reverse pattern as we've seen cooler temperatures off to this area, and we're actually seeing a pattern flip, and that's going to bring a lot of the cooler weather, as you see, up towards the southeast and up towards the northeast. We're going to see below normal temperatures for this time period, extending from October 16th to the 22nd. Here in State College, we are going to actually see some more seasonable weather with cooler temperatures than what we typically see this time of year. So our averages, as I mentioned, were in the lower 60s. We could be expecting to see temperatures more in the upper 50s with this pattern. Precipitation outlook as we extend up towards the north central plains and all the way out towards the west coast, as I mentioned, we're still going to see some below normal precipitation values, though as extending down towards the south and east and parts of Florida as well, we're still seeing the remnants of Hurricane Michael moving up. That's producing a lot of rainfall, and as it moves off towards the sea, we're really not going to see any precipitation up in parts of State College. We're actually going to remain below normal for once. We've seen so much rainfall just in the past 4 to 5 months, especially over the summer, setting records here across Pennsylvania. Looks like we are going to enter more of a drier and more seasonable pattern in the next coming week. Drought monitor across the United States, still the Four Corners seeing exceptional drought. Haven't seen much change over the past several months. Precipitation, yes, we've seen some rainfall, but not enough to get us out of that drought pattern across those regions. Across our area, I think we're pretty good with rain. We've seen a lot of it, as I mentioned, over the past several months, especially in the summer, so we are continuing to stay in no drought pattern here across the region. Our fall foliage map from the Foliage Network website, as you can see, Pennsylvania, we're starting to see some color on our trees, though you really start to notice that especially as you move up towards northern New York State, and also as you move into parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, where we're actually entering a peak area for colors on the trees. In terms of our weekend forecast here across Happy Valley, we have the big Michigan football game this weekend on Saturday. Temperatures looking really nice, 54, more seasonable. Sun will be shining, so a great day to get outside. Sunday, we're still having a chance for some possible showers throughout the afternoon hours. Still, we'll see partly cloudy skies throughout the day with a high around 57 degrees. So Mike and Ryan, the temperatures are going to be more seasonable. Looks like we're entering into a more drier pattern, so we might actually be able to go outside and pick some pumpkins before we get to Halloween.
Well, that is fantastic news. I am very excited for this weekend, not only for pumpkin picking, but also for that football game.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be really nice with the fact that we're going to have temperatures in the 50s for once and not the 70s, especially with the stadium. It gets very warm, and you don't want that during
you
the
don't
game.
want that. I'm very much looking forward to these below normal temperatures. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Ryan Gold.
And I'm Mike Susko.
Join us next week up in the air.